Have you ever felt like the universe just knew? Not in a magical fairy tale kind of way, but in that moment when suddenly everything clicks. You weren't planning it. You weren't even sure it would come. And yet, there it is. Clear, powerful, undeniable. Like a key turning in a lock that's been waiting for years. But here's the twist. That moment wasn't random. It was right on time. And today we're going to unpack why. Because when you finally understand how timing, alignment, and presence work together, you stop chasing and start receiving. Maybe you've waited months, even years, working, hoping, praying, and then almost out of nowhere something shifts. A thought you've never had before suddenly forms. An opportunity appears. A sense of peace arrives uninvited, and you realize it wasn't luck. It was orchestration, as if the universe had been watching all along, patiently waiting finger on the pulse of your becoming. That moment, subtle yet soul-shaking, didn't come too early, didn't show up too late. It came precisely when you were finally ready, not in mind, but in energy. You see, life has a rhythm, not the kind you plan for in your calendar, not the one dictated by your 5-year goals, but a deeper beat, one that syncs with your growth, your surrender, your becoming. And most people miss it because they're too busy overthinking tomorrow or haunted by what they should have done yesterday. But when you slow down, really slow down, you begin to notice it, not in a loud voice, not with fireworks or flashing neon signs, but like a soft breeze nudging open a door you didn't even know was there. And suddenly, everything starts to make sense. The setbacks, the delays, the reroutes, all those moments you thought you were being punished, they begin to look like divine precision. Something greater was at play, not working against you, but weaving every detour into a deeper alignment. Here's the part no one tells you. The universe doesn't follow your timeline. It doesn't respond to begging panic or desperate ultimatums. It listens to alignment. It watches for your readiness, not just intellectually, but energetically. Because when your internal world finally becomes a mirror of what you're asking for, that's when it arrives. Not because you forced it, but because you became the version of you that could actually hold it. That's the secret most people miss. The right thing will never come at the wrong time, and the wrong thing won't last even if you try to hold on with everything you've got. Many people confuse impatience with readiness. They scream, "I'm ready now." But beneath that scream is fear, unresolved pain, self-doubt disguised as confidence, desperation dressed up as determination. And the universe, it sees right through the costume. It won't give you what you're not ready to carry, because a premature blessing can feel like a burden. And the universe is too loving, too precise to let that happen. Ask yourself, are you becoming the person who can hold your vision without breaking under the weight of it? Because sometimes the delay isn't a denial. It's protection. It's preparation. There's a quiet mercy in the waiting, a silent kindness in the pause. What you're praying for might be on its way. But the deeper question is, can you hold it? Can you carry the fire without getting burned? So many people live in cycles of false starts. They say, tomorrow I'll start over. I'll be stronger. I'll be better. But the moment they slip, they abandon the day entirely. One mistake becomes a verdict, a reason to give up instead of adjust. But transformation isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. Even crawling forward is stronger than falling down in a dramatic heap of excuses. Life doesn't require flawless execution. It simply asks, will you keep showing up? Will you keep going even when it's messy? A diamond doesn't come out polished. It is carved by time, shaped by pressure, and refined through friction. You are no different. Every misstep, every repetition, every moment of discomfort, it's tuning you, sharpening you. You're not being rejected, you're being refined. What hasn't arrived in your life isn't missing. It's waiting for resonance. Because readiness isn't just a mindset, it's a frequency. And the universe is listening to the signal you're sending. Until your actions, emotions, and energy align, it waits, not out of punishment, but out of deep, unwavering love. To receive something before you are ready is not a blessing. It's a setup for collapse. And that's not how the universe works. Here's the deeper truth. The door to everything you want, to healing, to transformation, to growth. It always opens in the present moment, But so few see it. Even fewer walk through it. Most are too consumed by regrets of the past or fear of a future that hasn't happened yet. But the past, it's untouchable. The future, it's still being written. Only the present is alive. Only now is real. And this is where your power lives. So when discomfort shows up, when resistance knocks, when fear tries to pull you back, don't run. That's not your defeat. That's your invitation. A challenge doesn't appear to crush you. It appears to reveal you. The universe is holding up a mirror asking, will you meet this now or delay again? Because each time you run, you reinforce the story that your transformation lives in some far-off someday. But the truth, it lives right here, right now. Epicurus once said, this too is one of the evils of foolishness. It is always beginning to live. So stop postponing. Stop waiting for the stars to align or your fears to fade. Stop believing that you need to be perfect before you can begin. Because life, real, raw, and sacred life is not unfolding in your plans for tomorrow. It's blooming in the moment you are standing in. So meet it, right here, right now, and let the universe meet you back. In our last moment together, we uncovered something profound. That transformation doesn't come when you chase it, it comes when you align with it. And in that stillness, in that sacred presence, something deeper begins to surface. But here's where the journey turns inward. There is an intelligence behind what you're facing. The universe is not chaotic. It doesn't throw random storms your way just to see how well you swim. It's not reckless. It's calibrated. Every challenge, yes, even that one is measured and tailored for your evolution. That's why when you keep running into the same kind of struggle, it's not a coincidence. It's curriculum. The universe is handing you the same lesson again and again, not because it's punishing you, but because you haven't yet responded differently. The moment you stop trying to escape, stop planning your breakthrough for tomorrow, and instead meet the challenge with courage today, something shifts. That's when true change begins. Transformation doesn't ask for a declaration of new beginnings. It asks for a new relationship with now. This shift, this awareness isn't reserved for the few, the lucky, or the perfectly prepared. It's available to you always, even if you've walked away 100 times. Even if you've labeled entire seasons of your life as failure, the invitation is still there, unchanged, unmoved, waiting. Because the universe, it holds no grudges. Every moment is a fresh slate, every breath, a new chance. It doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for your attention. Marcus Aurelius once said, ask yourself in the heat of struggle, what in this exact moment is so unbearable? And when you pause, when you answer that question honestly, you begin to realize that the weight isn't in the moment. It's in your mind. What you fear isn't what's happening now. It's what you imagine might happen next. The challenge is here. The time is now. Nothing else ever truly was. And when the present becomes your anchor, when you stop retreating and start responding, something unexpected emerges from beneath the surface identity. You see, so much of the friction we feel in life doesn't come from circumstances outside us. It comes from the image we hold of ourselves. An image shaped over years, layered with labels, expectations, and roles. This identity, it acts like a script, whispering, dictating how we should act, what we should feel, how we should react. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. And the universe, ever aware, ever reflective, keeps mirroring that same identity until you're ready to let it go. Many of us chase dreams that didn't come from present truth. They came from childhood desires, adolescent impressions, societal expectations, old versions of success, outdated fantasies, inherited definitions of worth. We cling to them not because they still fit, but because we never stopped to ask if they should. And that's the danger. We strive not for what's aligned, but for what's attached to an old version of self. You try to be the perfect partner, the star employee, the inspiring creator. But who wrote the script for what that looks like? Was it you? Or was it someone else's idea you picked up along the way? The universe doesn't honor identity. It honors alignment. When your actions are driven by the need to impress, to perform, to live up to a role that's been scripted by others, you are not moving from your true self. You're reacting from image. And that image, it's heavy, like stones in the pockets of a swimmer, dragging you down, making you think the water is the problem. But it's not the water that's exhausting you. It's what you're carrying. Surrender in this sense is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's intelligence. To release an identity that no longer serves you is not to become empty. It's to become available. That's when the universe can finally meet you not where you pretend to be, but where you actually are. No achievement required, no perfection needed, just honesty. To say to yourself, I no longer need to be that in order to be enough. Because so much of what you call you is borrowed. Beliefs about success, ideas about how healing should look, assumptions about when love should arrive. Were they really yours or were they absorbed? And now, they define the invisible boundaries of your life. But the universe has no such boundaries. It waits patiently for the moment you let go of the lines you've drawn around yourself. And when you do, even for a moment, something rises. A presence without performance, a self unmasked, a truth quiet but undeniable. You begin to float, not because the river changed, but because you finally let go of what was keeping you submerged. And in that stillness, the universe responds. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped resisting it. That's when the next revelation emerges, not as something to chase, but as something that was always trying to reach you. Once identity begins to loosen its grip, what follows isn't a burst of action, but a call to stillness, not the stillness of passivity, not apathy, but the kind that is rich with awareness, the kind of stillness that listens, that notices, that receives. When you stop scrambling to fix yourself, to prove something, to chase a distant idea of success, you begin to hear what was always there. Because the universe doesn't shout, it doesn't compete with your noise. It waits for your stillness. It speaks in frequency, not volume. And in that quiet space you realize, the signs were always here. The guidance had arrived long ago. You were just too loud, too busy, too distracted to notice. People often confuse growth with constant motion, but wisdom lives in pauses. The seed doesn't push the soil. It waits for light, water time. And you don't need to invent progress. You just need to stop blocking it. Because what blocks it isn't laziness. It's the lack of presence. In stillness, patterns reveal themselves. You begin to see how the same internal stories shape your life again and again. What once felt random now feels orchestrated. What seemed like delays now look like divine timing. You realize nothing was missing, only unseen. The universe wasn't silent, it was subtle. Like a master musician playing between the notes. A quiet composer waiting for you to finally listen. So when the noise fades and stillness settles in, you don't just discover peace, you begin to hear what was always speaking. That's the paradox. When you finally stop forcing clarity, it finds you. Its voice exists in the quiet spaces, the ones you used to rush past in your pursuit of certainty. And now in this stillness, you start to understand the very clarity you were chasing was never something to force. This is the sacred paradox. The more you chase timing, the more it slips. But when you stop, when you breathe, when you trust, you fall into rhythm. You realize that the lesson was never about control. It was about cooperation. Not about manipulating the rhythm of life, but listening to it and moving in harmony with it. Because the universe doesn't need to be pushed. It only needs to be allowed. Stillness, then, is not the absence of effort. It's the ultimate act of trust. An invisible but powerful surrender that says, I'm not forcing. I'm listening. I'm ready now to receive. And once that stillness has done its work, once the clamor of false urgency fades into silence, a deeper pattern begins to reveal itself. Not mechanical ticking, not calendar deadlines, but the divine cadence by which the universe truly moves. Because life is not random, and revelation, it's never accidental. What reaches you truly reaches you, arrives not just because you wanted it, but because the moment was ripe. And ripeness is everything. Think of fruit. Pick it too soon and it bruises unready bitter. Wait for its natural ripening and it nourishes. Timing in its truest form isn't just an ingredient. It's the delivery mechanism of destiny. So many people believe they missed their chance, that the thing they wanted passed them by forever. But here's the truth. Real truth has no expiration date. What didn't happen when you begged for it didn't fail. It simply wasn't ready. You weren't ready. and alignment had not yet arrived. You may have been reaching with your hands while still carrying the very patterns that would break the thing you longed for. The universe, wise and watchful, delays not out of cruelty, but out of compassion, out of protection, because every delay is refinement. Every pause is the weaving of a vessel strong enough to hold the gift without it shattering. A breakthrough, if forced before its time, becomes a breakdown. A relationship, if entered before emotional maturity, spins into chaos. A dream manifested before belief has taken root turns into burden. So in its infinite patience, the universe waits. The space between desire and fulfillment, it's not emptiness. It's strategy. It's sacred. And there's something deeply loving about not being given what you're not yet equipped to carry. Because in that space you are becoming the person who can receive with grace what was once only a wish. Looking back, you'll begin to see it clearly. The heartbreak that softened your armor, the failure that strengthened your foundation, the detour that led to something better. You'll realize that life wasn't punishing you, it was shaping you. With precision, with purpose. The timing, it was never off, but your perception might have been. And when perception shifts, everything begins to move differently. You stop doubting the pauses. You start honoring the seasons. You no longer rip at the roots in frustration. You start tending to the soil patiently because now you understand. When the time is right, nothing can stop what was meant to bloom. To live this truth is to lay down the fever of force. You're no longer obsessed with chasing, controlling, fixing. You begin to flow. Decisions aren't impulsive, they're intuitive. Patience stops feeling like a punishment. It becomes power. You stop asking, when will it happen, and start asking, who am I becoming while I wait? And that shift, it changes everything. Because now, the waiting is no longer wasted. It's sacred, not a delay in your destiny, but a deep preparation for it. You begin to see the universe not as something outside of you, but as a mirror faithfully reflecting the shape of your internal world. When stillness deepens, when false identities are gently laid down, when presence becomes your dwelling place, you become the signal the universe responds to. Not because you've manipulated your life into submission, but because your frequency, your essence finally aligns with what you've been seeking. And at that point, timing becomes more than external alignment. It becomes internal resonance, a harmony between your soul's readiness and life's greater intelligence. And when it comes, it arrives like the sunrise, quiet, unmistakable, perfectly on time, not a second too early, not a moment too late. The relationship, the opportunity, the clarity, it arrives with a rhythm you didn't create but were always meant to move with. Because the gift is never just in what appears, it's also in when it appears. The right thing at the wrong time can harm. But the right thing at the right time, it transforms. That's the message the universe has been whispering all along. You were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. Everything in life unfolds with timing, not your timing, but a divine cosmic rhythm woven into the very fabric of existence. The universe isn't withholding from you, it's aligning for you. It's arranging, revealing, fine-tuning. What hasn't arrived yet is not lost. It's waiting for the precise moment when your awareness, your readiness, your presence can meet it fully. And when that moment comes, what once felt distant appears with a gentle certainty. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. You only have to become available to it. Living in trust of that timing will change how you walk through this life. You'll no longer live under the weight of urgency or the shadow of regret. Instead, you'll begin to meet each moment as sacred. Every challenge, every delay, every twist in the path becomes a part of the unfolding. Not a mistake to fix, but a movement of something greater. Even the silence carries meaning. Even the waiting holds weight. And one day you'll look back and realize it was never about what you were chasing. It was always about who you were becoming. Because the universe shows you exactly what you need to see, exactly when you're ready to see it. Not a moment sooner, not a second too late. And that is not a flaw in the system. It is the perfection of it.